Outside of Stalingrad, 1943, the Soviets advanced an armored force to encircle German forces in the city. Only one thing stood in their way: the Romanians, Croatians, and Italian Expeditionary Force. Armored forces surged into the unprepared and demoralized rearguard, and the rearguard disintegrated. But what if the Italians had brought their best troops to the Eastern Front, and brought distinguished tank commander Luigi Pascucci to command a small force to defend their German allies? Or rather, this is just the story that we go with for an excuse for me to play as with my Italian army, and for my little brother to play with my Soviets. Hi there, my name is Potatoes953, and welcome to another battle report. I seriously couldn't think of a better way of starting this video. My list was an Italian M1441 tank company with one M1541 as my commander, who was Pascucci, 4 M15s as the Spaghetti Platoon, 4 Somavente 75mm in Fettuccine Platoon, 3 M14s in Macaroni Platoon, 1 full weapons platoon, 4 100mm howitzers, 2 88mm guns, represented by the British AA guns, an OP, and 3 Panzer III Lates as German support. With the command cards, Tactical Brilliance, Fast Reflexes, Luigi Pascucci, and Saharina, I don't know how to say that word, some Italian word, which was the worst point use I ever have had. My brother fielded a mixed tank battalion from Enemies at the Gates, which had 3 KV-1s, 10 T-34 Early, a Hero SMG company, and 2 IL-2 Sturmovix, with the command cards Unkillable, Captured Tank, Molotov Cocktails, and some Russian word that means tank riders. The mission was dust up in the ruins of the outskirts of Stalingrad, with a bombed-out apartment building in the center, a group of bombed-out buildings, a frozen pond with the deity of the town, Hedgie the Hedgehog, standing guard in the center. I was the defender with a large numerical advantage, only having my Panzer IIIs and some Aventes in reserve. My artillery sat in distance of the objective, with my 88s placed where the horde of T-34s would appear. Meanwhile, the Soviets had the KV-1s and infantry deployed from the start. Turn 1 rolls around, and without being prepared in the slightest, the T-34 horde appeared. Unfortunately, they missed fortunately for me, unfortunately for my brother, they missed all of their shots, and they were clumped together perfectly for the shots of 100mm howitzers. The Italian tanks and infantry surged forward past the impassable pond for the tanks, and infantry taking skill checks to cross it, as for me and my opponent's agreement for how it would work. Meanwhile, the 88s and artillery dug in, and the 88s opened fire on the T-34s, killing one and bailing another. The next turn, the Russian Air Force appeared and did absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, the T-34s continued pushing forward, killing 2 M14s in Spaghetti Platoon. However, most of the horde was still hopelessly exposed in front of all of the massive guns. The 88s fired their first full volley into the horde, killing 2 and bailing a third. Meanwhile, the Germans decided to arrive, if that matters at all, which it didn't. And the 100mm fired a bombardment on a group of 5 T-34s, bailing one and killing one that had already been bailed. The Italian tanks continued their brave charge forward into the enemy line, and they promptly did absolutely nothing throughout the entire game, because KV-1s are impenetrable. The Bigliaseri occupied the bombed-out apartment building and began to rain fire into the Soviet infantry with their HMG. Turn 3 was when I started worrying for Mussolini's Tortellini gang, as the 88s were completely destroyed and the Soviet infantry began to advance into the ruined buildings. And this is also when the game slowed to a halt, when the Russians couldn't hit the Italians and the Italians couldn't penetrate the KVs or the while the 100mm guns began to pick off the T-34s. So now we begin skipping turns quickly. There were five remaining T-34s by turn 5 or 6, I don't remember. And over the next 4 turns, the artillery took one out one by one, surely but slowly. The PPSH company attempted an ill-fated assault on Spaghetti Platoon, and this is where the tables turned. As the Soviets failed to dig out the howitzers, the howitzers were killing the tanks, slowly but surely, one by one every turn, at about a pace of 1 tank per turn. And keep in mind, by this point, there were only about 5 operational tanks. And the infantry began to get picked off by the machine guns from all sides. It took a turn of machine gun volleys from all sides and being assaulted by the Bigliasseri, but the Hero SMG company was completely annihilated. The KV-1s killed 2 of the Panzer IIIs, but finally, on turn 7, the T-34s finally broke, winning me the game, as the mixed tank battalion was not in high spirits. If they didn't change the rule about not having any form of company morale checks in version 4, I wouldn't have had a way of killing anything, as in, like, I could have bombed them, I could have double bailed them, it would have just been a slog, and we would have been there for hours. But regardless, that is how the rules work now, and I'm not sure if I like that rule change. It's just very different from what I'm used to with version 3. But I suppose I have to get used to it with version 4 and Team Yankee. It's just very, very different from what I'm used to. And besides, this mixed tank company would not have had the ability to make a morale check anyway, because they didn't have a company commander, because that's what you needed in version 3. I'm rambling about old versions of Flames of War here, because I'm weird. Yeah. I thought I was going to lose for the majority of the game, especially seeing how over half of my list couldn't kill the T-34, and nothing other than the 88s could kill the KVs. But the tenacity and skill of the Italians won the game, halting the Soviet advance, allowing them and their Romanian allies to get out of being encircled and annihilated with the Germans, that were now trapped in the city named after the leader of the Soviet Union. This was a very fun game of Flames of War, that I wanted to share with you all. It was the first time I had played against Soviets with my Italians. I vaguely remember a tournament that I played in where I brought my Soviets, and an Italian player basically did the same maneuver on me, but I had won because I had brought a horde of T-34s, and he couldn't really do anything about it. And he wasn't running a tank list, he was using infantry. But regardless, I'm having fun with the Italians. I'm sorry for no upload last month. I was very busy, and I will be very busy for the next few months. So if I miss videos, or videos come out late, I apologize. I'm hoping that I can continue the schedule that I set out for myself, which is 1 video at least a month. Thank you all for watching this video. Subscribe and hit the bell, or else you pretty well aren't subscribed. And as always, have a fantastic day, and a fantastic life. Goodbye.